get my 6. Guys, welcome back to another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. I'm going to walk down the hill here a little ways and I'm going to tell you a story. And while we're heading down the hill, I want you to be keeping your eyes on what may or may not be following us. I'm not even going to look back there through the phone. I'm going to watch where I'm going so that I don't fall. So, Homesteading Off the Grid. A channel where one might think we're growing and raising our own food and living without public utilities, without Wi-Fi. Well, if you're watching this video on the internet, obviously that's not necessarily the case. Despite our best efforts, despite that being our intentions at first, and despite this channel starting out as a channel about green beans, corn, eggplant, trees, it evolved into something else. And that happened for 2 reasons, really. One was that, we have a lot of wonderful followers here, and they've chimed in and they've asked questions. They've talked about circumstances they were going through. Wanted to know if I had any insight in regard to this situation they might be going through. And oftentimes I did, because I'm an older guy. See, I got some gray hair. And I've been around the block. I've been around the world. So I've been able to add some input that's helped some people. And then secondly, so, we got away from some of the, this is just about gardening today and it's really about life. But then secondly, just strange things started happening. Like when I stopped here for good reason, you heard that very loud knock back there. And I know you are getting my 6, which means looking directly behind me. And I know you see that thing I just noticed in the phone right now. And I know you're watching for movement. So we kind of got diverted. It wasn't intentional. And over the last couple of years, a lot of the videos we've made, a lot as in most of them, have had to do with the supernatural, cryptids, cryptozoology, things, mysterious creatures that may or may not really exist. And for some reason, for those who think they don't, we've had some odd things show up on our videos. We've had videos where potentially, I'm always saying him, her, it, or they, because I don't know what specifically to call him, her, it, or they. Is it Bigfoot, Sasquatch? Is it Wendigo? Is it aliens? Is it something entirely different? Is it skinwalkers? Is it ghosts? Is it a conglomerate of all these things? What I will tell you is this. Over the last 2 years of filming these sorts of phenomena, I'll use that word. I'm going to sit here while I talk to you. And I'm going to keep the camera at this angle because I saw it too. Okay? So we're going to see if we can lure him, her, it, or they. Speak of the devil, which is an option. So if we can lure him out of the woods. So you keep watching. It's not the first time this has happened either. When we've just been sitting here in the middle of the woods, no one around, and then we hear voices from out of nowhere. So, hold on, let me grab something here. Here's what I've found over the last couple of years of making these types of videos, not always intentionally. You have 3 types of people, really, when it comes to believing what may or may not be. You have, first, people that will believe anything, okay? No matter what. They just believe anything. Then you have the opposite spectrum of that. You have people who won't believe anything at all, even when it's right in their face. And then you have folks who I might be willing to bet is probably the majority of folks, or at least half, that are open-minded. They're open-minded to believing in things that they may not understand or they might not know about. And then there are stories. There are things that happen that are so surreal. I believe if the viewer or if the hearer of the story or if any witness were to see these things and they had a heart, it could turn a true skeptic into a believer. And I'm going to share with you one of those stories here today in this video. It's something that took place about 3 nights ago, and I never planned to make this video, and I never planned to tell you this story because it has nothing to do with green beans, corn, eggplants, trees, bushes, or Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skinwalkers, aliens, cryptids of all sorts. But I do believe it has to do with a miracle, and I do believe it has to do with a message. And I shared this story with a couple of folks in recent days. One, a very trusted friend, a guy I refer to often as my spiritual advisor. Friend first, spiritual advisor secondly. And when I shared this story with him, he told me, he said, "You've got to tell other people that story. There's someone out there who needs to hear it." So I shared it today with a group of friends. I got together with a small group of friends around lunchtime for a bite to eat. Then we talked for a while, and after our food settled, I went out and ran a few miles, tried to get them to go with me, but they were busy for Christmas. This video is being made just a few days before Christmas, and that's relative to our story, or it's relevant to our story, so I'll throw that out there. But when I shared this story, everybody in attendance was just speechless. And it's not because it was so unbelievable, but it's because they believed the story. Okay, now there's somebody out there right now, today, watching this video who I believe will benefit from hearing this story. There are those who will judge me. And hey, isn't that what the comment section of social media sites is for anyway, right? For people to judge the content creator. Okay, hey, that's on you, bro. That has everything to do with you and nothing to do with me. There are those who will think I made this up. There are those who will say, you know, you're a writer, you're a pretty good one. That's what you do. You make up stories. That's fine too. This story was not made up. This story happened. There are those, and I'd say probably half of you, who will believe. And if you are one of those who do, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to think of someone who could benefit from hearing this story, and I want you to send them this video, because this is a video about a story, about miracles, and about hope, and about messages. I received a message the other day in the oddest of ways, and I do believe I know what that message was. I'm going to share that with you. So it's a pretty simple story. It's pretty short. It's pretty sweet. I mentioned just a moment ago that we're only a few days away from Christmas right now as of this recording. This is a wonderful time of year for many people. This is a very not so wonderful time of year for a lot of people. There are a lot of people like myself who will be spending this holiday season with people they love. I'm with my beautiful bride dearly. You know her on this channel as Giggly Girl because that's what she does. She giggles. And our son, Daniel, he's part of this story, by the way. Bliss, holiday bliss, daily bliss. I'm grateful to have my family. There's so much love in our household. Every day is Christmas for us, okay? And then there are people who are alone. There are people who are with other people. They are with family, but they're with people and family members they'd rather not be with. There are a lot of toxic relationships out there. And then there are people that are somewhere in the middle. And even people like myself who have past relations that no longer are, that if we dwell on them, can be painful. And this brings us to our story. If you've been following this channel for a couple of years or more, you know that I have 3 children. They're adults. We've been estranged for more than 10 years. They're in their 20s. I don't know where they are. Don't know where they are. Don't know what they're doing. And that's all you need to know. That's all that's relevant to this story. Okay? I have accepted that. I am at peace with that. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Because you know what? I can't change it. There's nothing I can do about it. I've tried. So I could either accept it, which I've done, and give every bit of myself to my family I have today and take every bit of them they're willing to give me and be happy. Or I can focus on what is not, and I can be miserable, and I can make their lives miserable. I choose not to do that. I choose acceptance. It's the only way. When you're in a situation in life that's difficult or unpleasant, you can do 3 things about it. Okay? You can change it if you can't change it, which I can't change this situation, you can remove yourself from the situation. Well, as long as I'm alive, I'll be in this situation, or as long as we're estranged. Okay, so I can't remove myself from this situation. Or thirdly, you can accept it. And if you don't do any of those three things, you will go nuts. I know, because I did for years. I don't do that anymore because I accept it. Now, being that this is Christmas season, intrusive thoughts do make their way into my mind, intrusive thoughts about that situation. And I think and I wonder, where are they? How are they? Am I grandfather and just don't know it? And it was about three or four nights ago. I'm sitting on the couch watching the fire, and these thoughts were in my head. So they weren't in my head long, because here comes my son Daniel, who's 9 years old now, and he brought with him this book. Okay? We have a Christmas tradition that he and I have done every year that we've been in the U.S. This is going to be our 5th Christmas here in the U.S. in this house. We moved here from the Philippines. My son was born in the Philippines. He was 5 when we moved here. And our first year here, we were at a thrift store, and we saw this book, The Family Christmas Treasury, and we bought this book for 99 cents, okay? He was in kindergarten that first year, and so I read him the stories. This is a really neat book in that it has stories, and the story we read in the Night of Question, that's part of this story, is a story called A Small Christmas by Wong Herbert Yee. And they're simple stories. They're maybe a dozen pages long each, lots of pictures. It was very wonderful at the time, because it was the type of book that you'd read to a child of kindergarten age. Well, by the following Christmas, he was in 1st grade. He read it to me, and he read it to me the next year, 2nd grade. He's in 4th grade this year. Last year and this year again, I read it to him. He can read it, but it's our thing. It's what we do. And he enjoys snuggling up with me reading him these stories. And then, after you finish the story, which takes 15 minutes or so, after each story, there's a Christmas carol, okay? And here's an example. O Little Town of Bethlehem. It's got the lyrics there. And so you sing the song, and then, of course, after you sing the song, you go on to there you go, Merry Christmas, Strega Nona. It's about your grandmother. I think this is a multicultural book. That might be a German story, the other one. But at any rate, he comes up, and he sits on the couch beside me. He used to sit on my lap, but he's half my size. He's as big as his mom now, just about. And so he sits beside me now, not on my lap. So he sits on my lap. He hands me the book. And of course, I'm brought back to the moment. I'm brought back to the now. Okay, where everything is perfect, where all my needs are met. I want for nothing. I have my family. We've got our health. The bills are paid. We can rub a couple nickels together even after paying the bills. Kitchen full of food. It's cold out here at night, but the house is warm. We've got enough firewood already split, dried, seasons to last us this winter and next winter, and we got 5 years worth of wood I've got left to split. I have no problems in my life right now. Okay, but if I let myself get out of the now and go into the past or fear about the future, I can come up with all kinds of problems. So it was a wonderful gift my son gave me by just showing up, bringing me back to the now. Gives me this book. Now, on an end table there in the living room, I had my laptop there, and we were playing just one of these, 10-hour long or 2-hour long Christmas songs playlists on YouTube. Down, not loud, just loud enough to where we could hear it throughout the house. The Christmas tree is all lit up, so we've got Christmas music going. So my son and I were sitting there, and I'm going to actually adjust my chair a little bit here so I can show you. We're reading. Some odd, like growls or grunts or huffs or something. But anyway, we're reading the story. We get to the last page, the end. And just as we got to the end of the story, the Christmas song that was on the laptop ended as well. So I'm turning the page, and just as I turn the page, I'm about right here, the music starts up for the next song. And then we get to here. And just as we're able to lay our eyes on the title of the next song, and then look down to the beginning of the song, which is actually over here on this page, and they've got the musical notes annotated as well. We started singing the song as this very song began to play on the laptop, "O Little Town of Bethlehem." And we sang that part, "O Little Town of Bethlehem," and then we both just stopped and stared at each other with our mouths agape. And this is how my friends I shared this story with today looked after hearing this story. Think about it, people. If you were to try to plan that, okay, I didn't know what songs were on that playlist. I certainly didn't know what song was coming up next because I didn't know what songs were on that playlist. I didn't know how long it was going to take me to read this story and compare that to the time of the previous song to make sure we ended at the exact same time. None of that happened. It was not planned. But I don't think it was a coincidence either. I believe it was a message. And I believe that message was and is: you are exactly where you're supposed to be, exactly when you're supposed to be there, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, exactly with whom you are supposed to be doing it with. If I were trying to replicate something like that happening a billion more times, it wouldn't happen once. But it happened once, and it was not a coincidence. Was it a Christmas miracle? Well, it happens to be Christmas time, but I consider it something even more powerful than that. I consider it a miracle that could happen any time of the year. You know, we've heard it said, I'm sure you have as well, that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Look for those messages, people. Messages of hope. Because they're out there, and there is hope. Never give up. It all happens for a reason. We may never understand it, and maybe we're not supposed to. But we're exactly where we are supposed to be, exactly when we're supposed to be there, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, exactly who we're supposed to be doing it with. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. If you don't celebrate any holiday, I wish you the best today and all days. And we'll see you for more next time from here at Homesteading Off the Grid.